Alright, welcome to the Ninth Circle. I'm back from the abyss here after a couple months. The holiday season when you work in retail is horrible. This is actually my second attempt to record this video. I recorded it earlier. I got a new laptop here in the last month or so, and when I recorded my other video and uploaded it, it didn't have any sound. So I'm going to try to rip through this real quickly here. I'm a little sick, so top 10 albums of the year for me. Shit. I'm gonna move everything back because everything's out of order now. Okay. Let me quickly do this. Like I said, I was just trying to get the video done, but man, when shit becomes difficult, it really kills my motivation for trying to get videos shot. And it's like, oh yeah, this is why. Anyway, enough bitching for me. Alright, so number 10. Band that came back out of nowhere. I was not expecting to see Old Wainds with Stormheart, a Russian black metal band, started in 1995. Most of their albums are from the early 2000s to their last album came out in 2014. It was called Nordraum. I did not expect them, like their vocalist passed away at some point. So this is the one original member, the guitarist, the drummer that was on Nordrum, and a new vocalist going by the name of Sadist, who was in Tetragrammicide. This is just really cold, scathing Norse-style black metal with great tremolo-picked riffs and perfectly sandpaper harsh vocals. Just great stuff. Like this, it probably would be higher, except that I only got it a couple weeks before the year ended, so it's going to be number 10. All right. Number 9 on the list here. Veteran band coming back after a long hiatus. So this is The Cure with Songs from a Lost World. 16 years since they put out something. The last record was 413 Dream. I like that record. Not a lot of people do, it seems like. That's a more diverse record. This feels like a sequel to Disintegration. This very much feels like it's in that vein. It's a long album. It's an hour long. A lot of the songs, my favorite songs are mostly on the second side, starting with Drone, No Drone. But I mean, the first song alone, great, 6.5 minutes. No vocals come in until about the 3-minute mark. And the last song, End Song, comes in, that's like a 10.5 minute song, and no vocals come in until probably like the 7-minute mark. So Robert Smith and company just showing that they can still put out a great album. And if this is the last thing they ever do, it's a fitting epitaph. So number 9, The Cure, Songs of a Lost World. All right, a little bit of death metal here. There were a lot of great death metal albums. I mean, I struggled to decide what I was going to put on because there were a lot that were of good quality, but not necessarily top best of. Could be better than any other death metal album. Necrot was a strong contender. Witch Vomit, Severe Torture, Defeated Sanity, but none of those are in my top 10. There are 2 death metal albums that made it in here, and here's number 8, and that is Civerous with Maze Envy. Now, when I first got this, I listened to it originally. I listened to the first track on YouTube, and I was like, yeah, it's alright, but I wasn't really blown away. And then one of my friends told me, they're like, no, you need to listen to the whole thing. It's phenomenal. It feels like old Finnish death metal, but with a really kind of like moody and dark atmosphere. So I bought the record and listened to side 1 and was like, yeah, it's good. And then I flipped it over to side 2, and that's when my mind was fucking blown. That second side of this is exceptional. Just takes you on an incredible journey into the darkest depths of despair. So, Civerous, Maze Envy, I'm excited to see what they do next. That is my number 8. Number 7, the only other death metal record on here. This was pretty much the first album of last year that really grabbed me, and then when I first got it, I listened to it for a week straight and couldn't listen to anything else, and that is Brodequin Harbinger of Woe. This took me by surprise because I have their other stuff and I like it, but I never would have been like, oh, it's my favorite stuff. The songwriting is just on another level for them. It just flows really well. Production really suits them. and it's in and out pretty quickly. This album's only like 33 minutes or something, so it doesn't get boring. It just has, it's easy to just listen to. The vocals, I know if anybody's going to criticize anything about it, yeah, the vocals are monotonous, but they work with this. They work with this kind of stuff. So Brodequin, Harbinger of Woe, number 7. Okay. Now we're going to get into a couple records that are not metal, but that's alright, because, there's great stuff that is non-metal, too. This is something I showed in a previous update earlier this year. Sect, Estrangement, kind of metal adjacent. Like I said, there's a blast beat section here or there in a couple songs. You've got some screamed backing vocals. There's a little bit of black metal flair, but this is mostly a goth post-punk record, and it's just really catchy and captures that, that dancey, infectious, dark feeling. So Sect, Estrangement, number 6. All right. Sorry I'm sniffling too. I'm a little bit sick. So another reason why I'm trying to rip through this video and not have it take a long period of time. Okay. What do we got? Okay, number 5. I do own this, but I didn't want to pull it. And I did post it on my Instagram at one point. So I will do that real quickly. And that is Cyberaktif with Endgame. That is my number 5. So this is a band, industrial band, with Kevin Key, and then Kevin Key of Skinny Puppy, Bill Lieb, and Reese Fulber of Frontline Assembly. They put out one other album before this in 1991, the year I graduated high school. So this was a surprise. Did not expect to see a new album by this band. And it leans more into the Frontline Assembly side. It's more dancey, but it's really catchy. And then you can hear the Kevin Key influence there. There's some really good layering, like as he's known for, soundscapes. It's just a really good album to mellow out and kind of sit there and think about and, and sorry, I'm kind of zoning out there. Just a great record overall. So anyway, number 5, Cyberaktif. Okay, number 4, this is a great atmospheric black metal record from this Norwegian band. This is Vemod with The Deepening. This is the deluxe CD edition. It's 2 discs. Disc 1 is the album. Disc 2 is like bonus material. But it's got some really great lyrics, photos, essays about the record. This kind of scratches that Agalloch itch, except it has that very Norwegian feel. But it takes you on a journey. The last song, The Deepening, it brings tears to my eyes. It's very emotional. So, Vemod, The Deepening, number 4. Okay, top 3 here. So, this is a band, like I said, the industrial black metal thing, I was just on that kick this last year. I don't know, and it did me right. And I've liked stuff this band has done before, but none of it has ever been like, oh, top tier, greatest shit ever in my mind. But this new Aranzi Pazuzu album that I believe is called Murauntja, man, I can hear elements of Godflesh and Skinny Puppy and Blut aus Nord, and maybe even some of that Mayhem Grand Declaration of War, but with its own feeling. I mean, it's just a really dark, kind of nightmarish, but fun ride, and it goes by, and it's just interesting to see the twists and turns that it takes. So, I'm excited to see what Oransi Pazuzu will do next. So that is my number 3. All right, top 2. Like I said, I'm ripping through this because my previous video was probably almost twice as long as this. But after you shoot the video once and then you're like, fuck, there's no audio, you're not going to be quite as patient. Number 2, a veteran musician with a band that's still relatively new. This is Yoth Iria, Blazing Inferno. So this is Jim Mutilator, the bassist. He was the bassist in Rotting Christ in the early days. They had put out one other album back in 2021 with Magus from Necromantia. He is not in the band anymore. I was worried that this might see a decline in quality, but Mutilator, he put together a phenomenal lineup, and this sounds like a modern take on that classic Rotting Christ, that early era, like Thy Mighty Contract, Non Serviam, and Triarchy of Lost Lovers. My favorite three Rotting Christ records, my favorite era of Rotting Christ. Just really anthemic songwriting, great riffs and vocals. It just, every time I finish listening to it, I just put it on again and listen to it at least a couple more times because it's great. So, Yoth, Iria, Blazing Inferno, number 2. And number 1, this is probably not going to be a surprise to anyone because this is a band that I often rave about, that this is the number 1 album of the year. Excuse me. But Deceased, Children of the Morgue. So I mean, my opinion is that Deceased, the best Deceased records have always been, for me, Fearless Undead Machines and Supernatural Addiction. Well, I think with this record, they've got a perfect triarchy or trifecta. I think this record is as good as both of those. It deserves to be in the same category. Amongst the best stuff they've ever done, I think side 2 is where this album really comes alive, the second record, with eerie wavelengths fed to Mother Earth, brooding lament, and farewell taken to forever. Of course, the title track, Children of the Morgue, is great too. Artwork, check that out. I mean, phenomenal artwork. King Follies in fine form, talking about, death and the inevitability of death, and sad stories about how we're all destined for the grave. It's just a phenomenal record. I mean, this thing's like an hour long, but it never feels that long. It never feels boring. It never gets old. So, Deceased, Children of the Morgue, my number 1, and I think I'm going to be listening to this for a long time to come. So, that's my wrap-up of 2024 there. I would also... God, this did the same thing. It's getting blurry again. Anyway. Weird. Okay. Next video, Simon, Mr. Pieface, sent me an awesome package. Couple packages of stuff before Christmas. I got them. I was going to send your package today, Simon, but turns out post office was closed for former President Jimmy Carter's funeral. So I went down there, walked in, and went, why is everything locked up? That's why. So that is coming next. Thank you for watching this. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward, hopefully, to being a little more productive in 2025. So I will see you soon in the 9th Circle.